Hey folks, welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you in part by the Blackview Dash Cam range, and today it's the DR900X Plus, their 4K ultra high resolution front camera, and Sony Starvis sensor in the rear camera. You can be sure that you will capture all the important details during the day and at night. Nothing is more important than having video proof in case of an accident. As a screenless compact camera that hides behind your rear view mirror, the Blackview is managed from the Blackview mobile app. With Blackview's seamless pairing, connecting with your Blackview app is a breeze. No need to enter pesky passwords anymore. Just wave your hand near the camera to confirm it's you, and the app will let you browse recorded videos, change settings, or connect your dash cam to the cloud totally effortlessly. But what about when you're away from your car? Well, with built-in voltage monitoring, you can have your car protected by Blackview's parking mode without fear of draining your car's battery. And thanks to the optional LTE connectivity module, the Blackview DR900X Plus Series dash cam keeps you always connected to your car from anywhere. This means you can receive impact notifications on your phone, check on your car with remote live view, and rest easy knowing that live event upload saves impact footage in real time to the cloud, including the all-important 5-second pre-impact buffer. The mobile hotspot function allows you to turn your LTE connected dash cam into a Wi-Fi hotspot for up to 5 devices. The DR900X Plus series is available now in 4 versions, with the front camera only or paired with a rear camera, an infrared interior camera, or an AI-powered driver monitoring camera. So go to blackview.com/TST, that's BLACKVUE.com/TST, and use the promo code TIRE to get 10% off any Blackview dash cam and free shipping for orders over $200. That's BLACKVUE.com/TST and use promo code TIRE. Brought to you in part today by ButcherBox. You know what I love about ButcherBox? Meat. That's it. Don't have to go very far. Meat. I love meat, love cooking meat, love eating meat, and I love when meat shows up at my house. So add some power players to your grilling lineup this summer, with ButcherBox. It's the subscription service that delivers high-quality meat and seafood right to your doorstep. Choose from a carefully curated selection of 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, wild-caught seafood, and more. And right now, new subscribers will receive a free grilling bundle in their first order. I love me a ribeye. I love to go reverse sear in my little what do you call it? It's a little Breville like toaster oven thing. It's just a toaster oven, but I go reverse sear 240 in the toaster oven for about 30 minutes until I get a 125 to 130 internal temperature. Then I sear it with some garlic, rosemary, and butter in the pan, about 2 minutes aside. Bam! Shit is so fire, and my wife and I love it. And I love ButcherBox because it's just bringing that meat right to me. So that way I come home from work, take something out of the freezer, I put it right on my granite countertop on my kitchen, and that actually helps it thaw evenly. I used to do that bowl of water thing. That doesn't really work as well. Just throw it on the granite countertop or in a cast iron pan, and that'll help it thaw out. It's really nice. ButcherBox, their meat has no antibiotics or added hormones, packed fresh and shipped frozen for convenience, and you can customize your own box or go with one of theirs. Either way, you get exactly what you want. Plus, it's an unbeatable value at less than $6 per meal on average. Here is the deal. Wow, free bacon for life? Free bacon for the life of your membership, plus $10 off. Sign up at butcherbox.com/tire and use code TIRE to get a pack of free bacon in every single box for the life of your membership, plus $10 off your first order. That's butcherbox.com/tire and use code TIRE to claim this deal. Free bacon for life, that's SEO gold right there. That's a perfect promo. I'm going to go home tonight. I'm going to make bacon fried rice with my ButcherBox bacon. I got the Kenji Lopez Alt Walk book, and the bacon and egg fried rice looks epic. It is going to be so delicious. Butcherbox.com/tire, code tire at checkout. Of course, we're brought to you today by Sofi. Investing can be real confusing. I don't know that much about investing unless it's land or Lamborghinis. You feel me? When people start using terms like shorting a stock, meme stocks, crypto, I don't really know what is up. So getting your money right is easier than ever with Sofi. It's the first investing platform to offer stocks, automated investing, and even crypto all in one app. It is really easy. I made my account in under 20 minutes, connected my financial institutions, and I was ready to invest within one day. Sofi has no commissions on trading stocks, no account fees, no hidden fees. You can even use fractional shares that start as low as $5 to buy brand name stocks, even if you don't have a couple grand lying around. They've got complimentary financial planners on staff and ready to help with any questions, whether you're stuck on where to start or need help deciding on what to do next. You can even save for your retirement with traditional Roth and SEP IRAs. You can get hands-on with active investing or let Sofi's #1 ranked automated investing tool take the stress out of building and managing a diversified portfolio by doing it for you. You can set goals, either it's quarterly, annually, or retirement, build up to a down payment on a home, etc., etc. So cut through the jargon and make investing easier with Sofi. Visit sofi.com/tire to learn how you can win up to $1,000 in stock when you open an account. That's sofi.com/tire. Brokerage and active investing products offered through Sofi Securities LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Last but certainly not least, we're brought to you by Off the Record. My favorite app to have on my phone is the Off the Record app. That way, I have confidence if I get pulled over by the police in one of their revenue generating strategies, right, where I'm doing a couple over and they need to make their quota for that month. I don't want to be involved in that system. I don't want my insurance to go up. I don't want to go to court. I don't want to pay fines. That's where Off the Record comes in. You can go to offtherecord.com/TST or download the Off the Record app and use code TST10 on the Off the Record app. Never plead guilty to those tickets. Send them to Off the Record. Off the Record will pair you with a qualified, successful attorney in your area who will fight those tickets on your behalf. You won't even have to go to court or really, honestly, even do anything. They'll make sure to get those points off your record. And if they can't get the points off the record, they got a money-back guarantee in place there. Off the Record covers 97% of American drivers, and you can find out for yourself by going to offtherecord.com/TST or by using code TST10 on the Off the Record app. I have personally used them several times to get me out of tickets, and I have never so much heard a peep about them later. Once I sent it to Off the Record, I knew it was handled, over, and done with, and I get a lot of emails from folks who say they used Off the Record and are super, super happy with the kind of service that they provide, keeping those points off the record. Don't plead guilty. Don't let your friends plead guilty. Tell them about offtherecord.com/TST. Today's show, I have spent the weekend at the Hypercar Invitational at Laguna Seca. I'm going to tell you what that's about. I drove the Cadillac CT5 Blackwing on the track. I'm going to tell you what that's about. I went for a crazy ride in the Aston Martin Valkyrie, $4 million prototype race car that you can buy. I'm going to tell you what that's about. Zack drove a supercharged Dinan S3 BMW E46. He's going to tell you what that's about. And we got a whole bunch of your questions on the Smoking Tire podcast. So Hypercar Invitational, we could start there. Zack and I went up last week. Zack just came for the podcast, and I stayed for the track day and the runway.
Yeah.
Interesting event. Sorry, I literally just ran up and down the stairs. That's why I'm like huffing. It's a developing event, meaning they started with this private sort of invite-only track day for people who own really crazy shit. Click on the Senna and then scroll one photo to the right to see that this garage is crazy. This garage is so stacked with shit. In this photo, there's a Vulcan. There's what's called a Formula 1.5, which is an F1 chassis with a more manageable engine. It's like, you can buy this. It's like an F1 chassis, and it's got like a 600 horsepower, 4-cylinder Audi-based engine in it.
Holy crap.
And then there's a Senna GTR, and then there's a Lambo Essenza. Behind that is an FXX. Behind that is a Wyra BC. Behind that is the Dallara EXP track day thing. And then fucking on and on and on and on and on. There was like 8 Sennas at this thing.
I mean, this is the thing where like the Senna is a common car here.
And by the way, that's 2 people. That garage, that's not like each person brought one car. Like the Senna, the FXX, the Essenza, and the Wyra, that's one guy.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Did
that's
he drive
the dude we met.
one on the track?
No, remember the guy who was sitting at the thing? That was him. That was the first guy we met there.
Did he have enough track sessions to drive all of them?
Yes.
Wow.
But the FXX had a mechanical problem and didn't go out. But he drove the rest of them. Yeah. That was the guy who had the line of the weekend, which I'll come back to in a minute. The absolutely most unforgettable line of the weekend.
He was basically doing the hypercar version of Matt Farah one take. Like he's driving 6 cars in a morning.
Yeah.
And hopefully he can get used to all of them very quickly.
And then remember, he had an SF90 for the road driving.
Jesus.
Like a transporter brought all these from his place at, I forget which country club. I think he might have been a thermal guy.
Yes,
no, I think he was thermal, not Spring Mountain, right?
Yeah.
Thermal guy. And he had a truck bring all them cars up, and crazy. And then there's a Vulcan here. That's a car from Thermal as well. I met that guy, young guy, fucking real cool actually. And like there was definitely some stereotypical folks as well, but in general, I mean, I have to respect that the folks who attended this kind of event were there to drive their cars.
Yeah, I agree.
And I saw a lot more good driving than bad driving. Most people understood the dynamics of a track day and safe point buys and, not that everybody was there to set a track record, but that they were having fun and pretty responsible with their cars. And, I was lapping Laguna in a Blackwing, which is a fast-ish car, but not compared to this shit.
Yeah.
And I was in the group Hypercar A, which is the fast guys. And so, obviously, I gave a lot of point buys because there's Senna GTRs and LaFerraris and shit on the track. The video is going to be really funny. There's literally the video is going to be lapping a Cadillac Blackwing surrounded by hypercars.
Right, you're pointing like a traffic cop. You're just like, go
ahead,
go
mad
ahead.
point buys. But I was having a really good time, and the Blackwing was a champ. But there was too loud. The real attraction for this event. For these folks was that they had unlimited sound day at Laguna. And most of these cars you can't run at Laguna because they're too loud. Mm-hmm. And so most track days at Laguna have a sound limit. And so to get an unlimited sound day is very expensive. 2 days on a weekend is almost unheard of. IndyCar and the Monterey Historics. Those are the kind of people that typically get an unlimited sound day. So the event is very expensive to enter, for these guys. I don't know the exact number, but it's expensive. And then there was wine tastings. They had a runway on Friday with folks, doing half-mile runway pulls. The Chiron was the quickest. That was in the 180s.
Whoa.
The other fast stuff was in the 170s, like Sennas and stuff. They got big wings.
Yeah.
So a lot of the really fast stuff also had downforce elements, so they couldn't. They're 170s.
How many Chirons were there?
Only one.
Okay.
Last year there was more of a Bugatti representation, but this year last year there were more manufacturers in general, but this year because the demand was so high for like Bugatti, like they can't keep those things like in stock. Like they didn't this year they didn't, I guess, see the marketing value in spending the money to bring cars out when they can't keep anything in inventory anyway.
Right.
You know, they don't need to sell cars. So it was more private owners this time and guys who brought bigger collections. But people were taking you could do charity rides, like people could donate to Make-A-Wish, you know, and if you got a certain amount, you could go out in a Senna and stuff like that. And it was actually like, it was pretty fun. Like I met some characters. I mean, some real, there was, you know, a couple eye-rolly characters here and there and a couple crypto bros here and there. The guy in the American flag cowboy boots, that crypto bro made me chuckle quite a bit. There was like 4 Koenigseggs. But there was also some kind of like OG, you know, like tycoon types, some of whom were hilarious.
I own half of Texas.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, like one of these dudes, and I'm not going to use any names, but one of these dudes, I guess, has some pull with one of with some real heavy hitters, and wanted a Ferrari 488 Pista, which was the coolest Pista I've ever seen. Usually I'm like, yeah, you've seen one, you've seen them all. This one had more in options than the MSRP.
What?
Yeah, on a Pista.
Whoa.
And it's not a cheap car.
I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah, it is. And so he wanted his Pista painted Shelby colors.
Okay.
Guess what Ferrari won't do? They won't do Shelby tributes.
Especially if you mention that. You don't go, I want, you know, this baby diamond blue.
Yeah, no.
You're like, I want Carroll Shelby blue.
Yeah, no. And so he had to pull all kinds of rank to do white with a blue Shelby stripe, and also the entire engine bay, the entire side skirt aero package, and the entire interior was blue tinted carbon fiber.
Oh, that's cool.
It was bitchin'.
I've seen that. It looks
awesome.
Yeah.
And he was like, I was like, oh, that's a cool color. He's like, bruh, you don't even know. I actually love this guy. I thought this guy was hysterical. He made me laugh a lot.
Tinted.
He brought 4 cars out. He brought he had a McLaren LT, this Pista, and a Aventador SV. He had like 4 cars, and this guy was a fucking riot. He was really, really funny. And I liked him. I liked him very much. And his troll Ferrari was excellent. It was very, very good. There was that roof Club Sport thing that I put a picture of. That was probably the oldest. I think this event really isn't about vintage. You know, I think they should have a vintage class. Go back to my previous. Scroll down a little more. The picture of that thing right there. Yeah, that white thing. That's a CTR2. Club Sport, which is basically the roof CTR2. It's not exactly like I've seen different people post different production numbers. One person said they made 9. One person said they made 19. It's less than 20. And this is the only one with like no interior, like lightweight race car shit.
Wow, I mean, it's got a half cage.
Yeah, it had that, and he was lapping that thing at Laguna. It was real cool. And as you can see in that photo, lots of 765 LTs, few Koenigsegg's, lots of SVJs and Sennas and P1s. I mean, it's some heavy hitting stuff. And,
I mean, it's everything you could expect on a calendar or from Instagram, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Which,
and it was cool to see them, you know, out on track and lapping. And there was the Zenvo guys brought their newest cars. So these are very interesting. They're from Denmark. This is their first car that they've evolved over the last 10 or 8 to 10 years. Twin supercharged V8. It's LS architecture, but they claim they cast their own blocks. Remember how Koenigsegg used to do this? It was the Ford architecture, but they would make the block themselves.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I mean, I don't have any way of questioning this. Like, they could be completely full of shit. I don't know. But they say they cast their own LS architecture blocks. It's like 5.8 liters, twin Rotrex superchargers, 1,200 horsepower.
Whoa.
Sequential gearbox. And then that wing tilts left to right based on how you're turning the car.
Right.
To bend the aero.
Did you ever get an answer about, does it react based on G-force or steering angle?
Steering angle.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I wonder if you have to correct, does it
Yeah,
kick
no,
back the other way?
Unclear as to what happens if you drift and then counter steer. I'm not really sure if it's capable of reacting that fast, because it's hydraulic, not electric.
Right.
So unclear. It sounds like the nastiest Corvette you've ever heard.
Yeah, it does.
And it looks to be screwed together pretty well. I mean, they paid pretty close. They want $2 million for this thing. It's not nothing, you know. And it's interesting looking. They were lapping it on the track, so it can at least handle some amounts of track work. You know, the couple people I know who got to drive it. Mm-hmm. They said that the weak point is the gearbox, which is sort of clunky. They just said it was like an Aventador gearbox.
Okay.
Pretty clunky.
Wow. Dual clutch?
No, single clutch. Yeah, single clutch. But it's neat. I mean, it's neat. It was cool to see one out. You know,
it is.
Yeah, it was neat.
I mean, I still like the design. I remember seeing it 10 years ago, and then I still think it looks cool. And it still looks
it's really
different.
Loud.
Like it still looks like it's from the future, even though it's 10 years old, which is impressive for a design.
And the folks who built it were really, they had a few of their engineers and stuff out, and they claim that they have basically no suppliers, that they make almost everything in-house. Now, this blue one that we have on the screen here has a forged aluminum wheel. They also had a white one with carbon wheels, and they say they make those. They don't buy them from Carbon Revolution. And you know, the only part that I could clearly say was not from them was the steering wheel. The steering wheel was like a C7
80s Porsche? Be great.
No, it was like a C6 Corvette steering wheel that was recovered a bit, but like it looked like what a
3-spoke with kind of a bulgy airbag holder.
It looked like what a Callaway would do with a Corvette steering wheel. That was pretty much the only thing. But like, you know, full screens for gauges. I'm guessing at Callaway. Callaway might leave the steering wheel alone. If you took that steering wheel and made it carbon fiber with a flat bottom, that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Neat. I mean, very, very neat. And a lot of cool watches.
I bet.
You know, the food and stuff was very good. And their goal, HyperCar, their goal is really to make this a spectator event. To get Laguna, you know, to rent Laguna for this type of event on a loud day on a weekend is crazy money. I mean, I think it might be $100,000 a day or something.
I'm sure.
It's the most expensive racetrack, I think, in the world, except for the Nürburgring. They said they could rent Spa for a fifth of the price.
I mean, we wanted to rent it for production once, and they quoted us $25,000 or $40,000
for a quiet day.
For a quiet day with 2 cars filming.
Yeah, I mean, it's as I believe it's the most expensive racetrack in the world to rent. And so they wanted to do spectators. It's like another $100,000 because now you have to have your vendors there and your security guards and all this other shit.
Yeah.
So that's what they're working towards. But the highlight of the whole thing, I mean, for me, I was the MC, so it was a great gig. I didn't have to do much actual work, and I got unlimited track time, which the Caddy is too loud for a quiet day at Laguna. So you couldn't. This is an opportunity for me to lap a car that I normally would not be able to. And by the way, normally what happens with a car that is too loud for Laguna and has to do a quiet day, either there's an exhaust modification, you have to put some crazy contraption on that points the sound.
You attach a garden hose and then aim it into a different county.
Basically, or you have to go through turn 5 up the hill in a gear probably way higher. You basically can't go nearly as fast as you would normally go because you've got to go a gear or two too high through this one corner, which is at the bottom of a very big hill.
Yeah.
So when I had the Lotus Evora 400 and I was doing Laguna on a quiet day, I blew sound. And bless you. And so for the whole rest of the day, I had to go through this corner in 4th instead of 3rd. And on the very last day, I was going to go home. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to blow sound to see what it'll do properly. So I did it in 3rd. And the difference was 4 seconds a lap.
Whoa.
It was an enormous difference.
Yeah, because you're throwing away a corner and the entire uphill. And it's a pretty long uphill, which also sets up the turn right before the corkscrew. I mean, there's a lot of momentum that you lose. Like that turn after 5 is all momentum.
Yeah, especially if you have a car that's got really big torque. It's less of a difference, but in the Lotus as an example, there was a huge difference in power above 4,000 and below 4,000, and you really have to lug the engine to not blow sound. Wow. So anyway, the Cadillac, I could be in the right gear, and that was fun. But the real highlight was the Valkyrie, the Aston Valkyrie AMR Pro. They brought out Aston Martin brought out one, which is this beautiful green thing they've got here, and then one of their first customer cars, which was a race team called Heart of Racing, they brought out another one. So there were two. Valkyrie comes in 2 versions, and they're actually quite different. AMR Pro is the race car, which is what we have here. Slicks, very serious aero package. No creature comforts.
Like not street legal.
Certainly not street legal. It's 1,000 horsepower. It is. It has a suspension and everything that's set up for slicks, really. And there's a whole different way to set it up for slicks. And you need a race team to do anything with it. You need a race team to start it.
I mean, look at the diffusers front and rear are like so big. The rear diffuser actually like goes out toward the arches and then heads down and nearly touches the ground. It's like all one piece.
It's just insane.
I've never seen that. Wow.
And so it's, how do I explain this? So they were going to build it for this Le Mans Hypercar class, right? And then they decided to go F1 racing instead. So they bailed on the Le Mans Hypercar class. So they have this car, which Adrian Newey was heavily involved in from Red Bull. And they said, well, why don't we sell it to people?
Holy shit. So it was supposed to run the Hypercar class with like...
with Glickenhaus and these other companies. Yeah. But then they were like, nah, let's just sell it to people. So they're doing a few of these race cars and then a road version. The road version is different. It's not as long. The wheelbase isn't as long because you'd high center this thing fucking everywhere.
Jeez.
The tub itself is actually different, and it's reinforced in different ways.
Whoa.
The passenger compartment is a little bit wider. It has air conditioning and a stereo and stuff like that. There's that fin, that dorsal fin, the shark fin. It doesn't have that. It has a completely different aero package. It has KERS. The race car does not have KERS. It has a height adjustable suspension electronically, which this doesn't have. This suspension you can adjust the height by turning wrenches, but it's not adjustable on a button, and it's heavier. The passenger car is. They have the same engine, basically, and the race car. The engine doesn't have, they have different gearing. So the race car, the engine doesn't even come on until 20 miles an hour. This runs on electric. It's battery electric under 20 miles an hour. And the Aston guy said if you were careful, it probably has enough battery to do a full lap of Laguna just on battery. It would make it around. But as you pull out of the pits, it bump starts itself. It doesn't have a starter motor.
Wow.
So it just fucking dumps the clutch when you hit 20.
And does it like stumble, or is it like the SF90 where it just fires?
No, it's not. It doesn't need to be smooth. Okay. You can feel that the car has bump started itself.
Wow.
Yeah. It doesn't do a big jerk, but the smoothness in that integration is not part of the equation.
This is crazy.
It's got an X-Track sequential gearbox. It's a race car.
It's amazing that the tubs are different between the two, because I'd be curious to know like what the difference is in, because it seems like that would increase the manufacturing cost, but I guess they made it work.
No, I mean they're based on the same kind of thing, but the cars are handmade anyway. It's not like they're built on a assembly line. They're completely handmade by Multimatic, these cars. So having two different tubs is not, you need to have different bucks to mold the carbon fiber.
Right.
You know, but it's such a bespoke thing anyway that to have them be slightly different doesn't really make a difference. And a lot of the differences come from the fact that the road car is designed to take the impact of bumps on the road, clear certain objects on the road,
Poor people.
be driven at lower speeds. I mean, even just around town.
Yeah.
And like you can't drive this slow. The race car. It's an LMP car. You cannot drive it slow. It does 2 modes, batshit
As
and
pit
parked.
road
Yeah.
and racetrack.
And park. Yeah. So they gave out some rides, and I got to go for one.
So cool.
Andy Priol was the driver. He's a touring car legend. He's raced Le Mans. He has a crazy racing resume. And not only was he the only person, like it wasn't like they weren't letting people outside of Aston Martin. Like he's the only person who can drive it.
Wow.
Like
Lewis Hamilton couldn't walk up, or
maybe Lewis,
or maybe
but
Vettel.
like maybe Vettel, but like no one else even like I was there with Ben Collins, like the Stig, like, and they were like, nah, hard no. And my first impression of the car was that it is deeply irresponsible to sell it to people. And then I went for a ride, and that initial thought was absolutely confirmed. It is so, you really can't. Aston Martin will tell you, and I'll tell you, that what holds back the performance of this car is that it has to have humans in it.
Jeez.
It's
right.
just, when you get in it, it is so claustrophobic and tiny. You go, this is just crazy. You can't, this is clearly a space that should have one person in it that you've decided to try to fit 2 people in.
Yeah.
And I realize I'm a big person, but even if you're not, they took people out that were small, and they still had to hold their left arm out of the way.
Wow.
Yeah, like the seats are physically touching each other it's one seat with a single carbon fiber divider between the two. There is no gap.
Whoa.
At all.
Weird.
I had to take my shoes off to get in. The passenger side couldn't fit, and my head was literally jammed into the roof, which was actually a benefit because people smaller than myself were saying the neck was getting like super jerked under braking, whereas I knew that and wedged my head into the roof, which actually stopped that.
I mean, there's a reason F1 drivers literally use weights and do neck workouts.
Yeah. So the track record for road cars at Laguna is Randy Pope's driving a Senna, and that was a 127. This dude did a 118 with me in the car at the middle power setting. As soon as we went out, I knew it wasn't on full power. I knew it. Like, it was fucking, don't get me wrong.
But you're like, this doesn't feel like 1,000
But I knew it
horsepower.
wasn't full power. And it was middle, it was the 800 setting.
You were 9 seconds faster with you in the car.
With me in the car.
And this was a ride along.
This was a ride along.
Quali lap.
Well, that's what I said. And then
Holy shit.
the first lap, the out lap, okay, getting used to it. He gave me, you can't hear anything, so he gave me the yes, no, yes, okay, fine. The second lap, I almost shit my pants. The second lap, I don't think I've ever been that scared in a car. And this is with someone who knew it, not because he didn't know exactly what he was doing, but
Right. But the forces were so beyond what you'd experienced.
The speeds through turn 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like 3 hairpins at Laguna. There's turn 2, which is at the end of the front straight, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's the corkscrew, obviously, which is very fun, but it's a pretty low speed corner in almost anything.
Yeah.
And then there's turn 11, which is the last corner onto the front straight. Those were, fast, race car pace, but but that's not where the shit was insane. Turns 3, 4, 5, 6, which is through the infield and up the hill, and then turn 9, which is steep. So 9, after the corkscrew, you go down the hill and to the left. That turn 9, he took almost flat.
Oh my God.
Like flat until the curbing began on the left side, and then it was this: brake go, flat, brake go.
Jesus.
And
that is a camber change
it's
in the middle
off
of
camber.
it. Yeah. That's the most
right about at
corner.
the apex of 9. I went, we're gonna die. I mean, I really was like, that was life flash before my eyes. Like, well, this.
Did you have any idea how fast you were going, or were you just looking out the windshield?
I couldn't see the speed, but
Okay.
on the front straight, he went over the crest at 180 miles an hour. And then hit the brakes between the 2 and the 3 at the end of the front straight. From 180 plus miles an hour.
Oh, right.
Flat over the crest, braking inside the 3.
Good.
Which into like a 40 mile an hour left-hand
Very slow
corner.
yeah.
Yeah. And he hit turn 6. It must have been 150.
Well, this goes back to the conversation we had with Randy Popes, where it's like once you drive a real dedicated track race car, it ruins you for track prepped street cars or sports cars.
And this is far, far beyond that. You know, like I went out with Ben, the Stig, in the Dallara track car, which was really fun. And then we have a little video coming with that. I hope it worked, where we both had microphones, Ben and I, but we couldn't hear each other.
Oh.
So Zach will have an interesting time editing that one.
Oh, good. Okay.
So that'll be interesting. But like that was like a club racer, you know, with a carbon tub and a sequential gear. But that wasn't like scary. You know, that wasn't like, that was fun.
What kind of horsepower was that making?
500.
Okay.
This was like, fuck me, you know, downforce. You know, you're going faster than you can really, than I could really think.
Mm-hmm.
He going up the hill to the corkscrew, he hit the brakes so late, I was like, we're gonna fucking die right now.
Oh my God.
I mean, it was nuts, and I understand people who were saying their neck was getting really jerked around. I was tall enough that wasn't an issue for me, but my issue was the claustrophobia, because you combine that pace with it. I really felt like it was like kind of hard to breathe almost.
Wow.
And just insane amounts of adrenaline. But we did 4 laps, and by the 4th one, like the second one was real scary, and then I kind of knew what to expect after that, and I knew we wouldn't die. But I just got back and I was like, you're just selling this to people? Like, even if they're pretty, like, okay, now the line of the weekend was the guy we just talked about who has the FXX and the Senna GTR. He has every 7-figure crazy track car you can think of. And he drove them, you know, and seemed to, you know, more or less know what he's doing. He was the first guy to come for a ride, go for a ride in the Valkyrie. And when he got out, I was like, hey, man, how'd that go? He's like, I think I'm going to cancel my order. And I go, really? He goes, I don't know what to do with that. He goes, I can't drive that. And then he goes, this was this past weekend, he goes, anyone who can drive that is in France right now, because 24 hours of Le Mans is like literally going on. He's like, I don't even know what to do with that. And this is a guy who just minutes before was lapping a Senna GTR. That's the kind of gap.
Wow, that's the delta.
So Andy, the driver, said, full power, no me, minus 5 seconds. And then he said, qualifying, fresh tires, downforce set to max, 4 more. That's 109. That's like an Indy car runs that. Like that. Like he thought he had to check, but he thought that on the ride-alongs that he had a record for fastest lap with a passenger ever at Laguna.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably breaking all kinds of records.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's
I
so
mean,
fast.
fucking batshit.
Yeah.
It's like $4 million, you know, and it's literally, it's the car for someone who's got every other, you know, it's the game over. It is a prototype race car,
right?
That
but
they
that's
will
the thing
sell
is
you.
that like the number of people that can both afford it and are capable of driving it, who are basically former
Right.
Le Mans prototype drivers.
Yeah.
How many
Very
of them
few.
are there? Very few.
Very
yeah,
few.
Yeah.
And the Aston guys, they know how ridiculous it is. They're not stupid. But you could turn the power down as low as 600. It has 600, 800, and 1,000 are your settings. And in their defense, it's not like the thing was ragged. Mm-hmm. It's not like, now I've heard the street car is pretty ragged. Like they were like, if you tried to take the street car to a track day, it would be gnarly as fuck.
Because it doesn't have the downforce.
And doesn't have slicks.
Jeez.
The street car is totally limited by street tires. You know what I mean? And if you had enough downforce, you would break the wheels and blow the tires, because that's how physics works. You know, at a certain point, you just can't do that. It won't hold anymore. So it seems like the street car at a track day would be incredibly sketchy. But Andy wasn't, it's not like he was working that hard. He was driving it, he's used to it. He was driving it smoothly. It wasn't fucking sliding all over the place. It's just like, this is just another level of anything. I mean, even far beyond.
Well, he's right. It's a prototype car.
It's a prototype race car.
Driven like one, which is very smooth.
Which is crazy.
It's gonna stick. It's not supposed to slide all over the place.
Right. And so, Aston says that with plenty of training, it is possible to have a club level driver work their way up to it.
Well, see, what you're going to do is you're going to use the Aston Martin time machine to go back to when you were 6, and you're going to start racing karts. Then you're going to work up, that's the training you're going to need for this.
I mean, they're only making I think it's 24 race cars and 40 street cars or something. Wow. They're not making a lot of them. And let's assume half the race cars never even start. They go into a collection, they sit there, never driven.
Yeah.
You're talking about a real small handful of guys. And after this weekend, I now know that there are people that have $20 or $30 million worth of track cars and who drive them on tracks. I mean, there's not a lot of them, but they exist. Mm-hmm. I mean, I talked to multiple people that have homes at Spring Mountain or Thermal or other racetracks, Monticello, and they've got big, huge dollar collections, and they do drive them on racetracks. And so part of me is like, oh, good, another billionaire toy. You know what I mean? And it's depressing that someone has done the math and realized that they could sell 100 $4 million cars instead of 1,000 $400,000 cars or 10,000 $40,000 cars. And that's depressing because it's just funneling that choice upward.
Yeah, I mean, I have plenty of cynical thoughts about this, but as you said, when we were there, so many of us complain about people buying high-dollar special cars and not driving them. And it could be a car that costs $50,000 or $5 million. So, to see that people want to go drive them and do that, it's good. This group of people are cool. I'm glad there are people there doing that.
There were 2 people there that planned to buy them and were going to go through with it. One was the guy who has that Vulcan, which was stunning, by the way.
Yeah, they're cool looking, right?
That fucking thing is awesome. And he must have done a dozen sessions in it over the weekend. That guy drives that car a lot. And good for him. And then American Flag Cowboy Boots guy was NFT crypto bro. He was going to get one too.
Wow.
But it was, I mean, as an experience, holy fuck. It's so over the top. We can really stop now. We don't. You are at the edge of physics, really, as far as these cars go. I mean, the only thing to ever go faster around the track than this car is, and it's literal an F1 car.
Yeah.
And maybe a literal Indy car.
I mean, I think for a lot of people, it's this weird combination of painting and Gatling gun. It's a cool thing that you're allowed to buy. You can put it in your garage and just go, isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
This piece of engineering. It's like buying a used NASA space capsule and having it in your collection. You're like, I can't go to space, but how fucking cool is that?
Yeah.
So
to look at it, I mean, even just to see it parked there and look at it, you go, that's not a car. It doesn't even look like a car.
It does not look like a car.
It doesn't look anything like what you would define a car to look at, to look like. And it's far prettier than your average prototype race car even. They have given some thought to it should be attractive looking,
I mean, yeah, it has an organic shape to it. It's got some curve, and the headlights are interesting.
It's so obviously an LMP car.
Yeah, the fin, the center fin. I mean,
it's just fucking mental.
I've never seen a front splitter like this. It's amazing.
Yeah, really, 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 really next level, and. Heart rate. I was in the car for 6 minutes and I was drenched in sweat and just you might have seen it in the Instagram video. This lovely woman from Aston Martin came over when I got out with a silver tray with ice water and an ice towel for me, and I was like, yes, I need both of those things.
Yeah, I need to extinguish this.
It's so crazy. But that's the video. But to drive it, Like, look how you could see me holding my arm there like that, right? In the beginning of the video.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like your arm just wasn't going to fit in
It
the
wasn't.
car.
Yeah. Apparently, and I asked, like, is there a way if I had $4 million that you could make one I could drive? And they were like, no.
Wow.
They pretty much
just can't center seat it?
They pretty much just said no.
Yeah, it's a race car. I mean, the door opens. It's like DeLorean doors, but it feels more like fighter jet.
Yeah.
I mean, this is next level.
And I was like, it took me a while to get out of it. I was like, this would be sketchy in a fire. He's like, if you were on fire, you'd surprise yourself with how fast you could move.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez.
Just insane. And the sound, I don't think I have an Instagram video of it going by. I mean, open corked 12-cylinder, I'm sorry, I don't think I have an Instagram video of it. I have one on my phone. I should post. It's exactly what you would imagine it sounds like going by. A V12 with no mufflers and just a very short exhaust. It was like an F1 car basically. Do you have is that a video?
This is someone's video, which we can play like in the background just to hear it.
Where let's see if we can. Where is it? Oh, this is at Goodwood. So this is the road car. That's the road car. See the difference? No fin.
Yeah.
Totally different aero package. Totally different wheels. You can see the cockpit itself is actually wider.
It does look wider. Yeah. It's a good looking road car.
Oh yeah.
I like this back 3/4 thing. Oh, here we go.
Can we go sound? Yeah. But that guy's smashing the rev limiter. Yeah, this video from Goodwood is good. But that's the road car. I mean, I actually, like, I kind of get the race car. It's the road car that's dumb. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, that's so
the road car looks hairy as fuck. But it has a much more, reason. Oh, he's in the wet?
Oh my God, it rained on that corner.
You can hear the gearbox whine. The idea that they made one for the street, and I'm sure they had to. They probably had to for the homologation. Like they probably had to build street cars for the homologation, and then once they designed it, they were like, "Well, let's fucking build it, right?"
Yeah.
I bet you they sell out the street cars before they sell out the race cars.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah, because more people go, well, I can drive this down the street carefully.
Yeah.
But I can't race one.
I'll tell you what. I bet you that there are a few things that are less rewarding in a 4/10 Canyon drive than that. You know what I mean? Like, there's just it doesn't seem like the kind of thing that's rewarding at a medium pace.
Well, the hard thing about that is you have to really, really, really enjoy the sound, which you would, but you can get a similar V12 sound from like, I can't believe, like a McLaren F1 or a 599 Ferrari.
You could take
Ferrari,
the mufflers off of DBS and make it sound similar.
Any
to
other
that.
V12 car would sound similar. Jeez.
Bananas. I mean, just pure bananas. But what an experience.
Yeah,
though.
what a ride.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And apparently, there is a race shop at Thermal, and the Aston Martin people are training them to how to run it. So if you were to buy one for your place at Thermal, they could operate it there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll probably be the fastest car you'll ever ride in.
I
terms of lap
can't.
time.
Yeah, what? Because anything faster is not going to have a second seat.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the fastest, quote, passenger car. I mean, certainly the fastest.
Like maybe one of those 2-seat Indy cars. Maybe.
Maybe. Even I can't even imagine that being faster. I mean, because those are pretty old school. You know, it's not like those 2-seat Indy cars are like this year's Indy car. You know, that's kind of a, get your vibe on.
True.
And respect to Mr. Andretti. I mean, all the respect to Mario Andretti, who drives that 2-seat Indy car. I don't think he's going to be as quick as this guy. I think this guy has a little something he's got cars to sell right now.
Well, I also don't know if they have like a limiter on the 2-seat Indy car where they're like, you're going to go 170 on Indianapolis, not 220, which is what they really do at Indianapolis, or 248 nowadays.
Yeah.
So
it was fucking gnarly.
That's cool.
Yeah, really, really gnarly. But it seems like next year HyperCar Invitational will be a spectator sport. And if so, I think it would be a good one. I mean, I think the spectacle of seeing that level of car lapping Laguna, uncorked, is pretty cool.
That's all we want. We plebeians who can't afford it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we want to own one, but if you can't, like, why? Yeah, I want to see an FXX drive next to a Koenigsegg, drive next to a Chiron. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. And and the sessions I was in were really, really funny because I was out there in the Cadillac and I had to give a lot of point buys at a massive speed differential. But look, I also got a couple point buys,
nice.
Here and there. And a couple very expensive cars went off, as happens during those types of events. Nobody got hurt or anything, but some cars got a little dirty, a little dinged up, and that kind of stuff is, it's exciting to see that kind of action.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I hope they get to do it next year, and it was very fun. And we'll have, I think this Dallara video will work out with the Stig driving me in this Dallara, which is really, really a neat car, and I was in the Valkyrie video. I was wearing a racing suit. In the Dallara video, I'm not. That car's got no roof, no windshield. Dallara EXP, it's called. The EXP is the track day one. It's the track version of the Dallara Stradale. Yeah, this is it. That might even be the exact car we were driving. No roof, no windshield, and I'm in a T-shirt, and I felt very exposed.
I'm sure the audio is going to be great.
Well, look, Ben. Well, no. Actually, I think the audio will be okay because we were wearing closed face helmets, and we had the lav in the helmet.
Okay.
So I actually think it'll be okay. It was very stressful for me to ride with Ben, who was caning it, and try to get the levels. Right.
Yeah, of course.
I'm holding the fucking Zoom recorder.
Yeah.
In a totally open car around Laguna. Ben's like, by the way, I haven't driven here in 20 years. Oh, good. Cool.
Hasn't changed.
You don't forget, but...
Yeah. What a fucking cool day.
Well, what was really interesting, like, watching how Ben drives from the passenger seat, I actually recognized how he moved his hands from television. Like, from seeing him drive cars around the Top Gear track, he has a very specific way he moves his hands.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and when you see it, you go, "Oh, I've seen you drive before. I recognize your style." It was very interesting.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
What a cool day.
Yeah, what a sweet guy. And Justin was out there having a good time. There was a race car class. People brought out fucking AMG GTRs. There was a 4GT LM. There was cup cars. Like, there was a race car class. And then there's one guy who went out in the race car class in a 765 LT with a cage in it. A street car, but had a cage in it. And this dude was passing people.
Whoa.
Yeah, this guy was passing like race cars.
Whoa.
I don't know if he had slicks on the car or not, but this dude was making moves on race cars in his 765 LT with the cage.
Well, he's probably making more power than most of those race cars.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
He was on it. It was very, very interesting to watch. 765 LTs there was a lot of them there. They are so fast.
Yes.
I mean, even there was a guy with a Senna who was pretty cool, pretty young guy from LA. Don't know where his money came from. I didn't even ask, but he had a Senna. And he said, he goes, I'm working on a deal with McLaren to get a 765 gearbox for my Senna because I drove a 765 and the shorty gears just made it feel so much quicker than the Senna.
Whoa.
I want that. So it's $37,000 to get a 765 gearbox. And other than that, it's the same. Other than the ratios, it's the same.
Holy crap.
So you could put it right in. And he wanted his Senna to go quicker. Okay.
My Senna's too slow.
I mean, look, if you had bought a Senna,
yeah,
and then you went out in a 765, which was a third of the price, and it felt quicker, I can imagine the disappointment.
Yeah.
And if you're at that level of finance, and they go, well, it could feel like this for $36,000. I mean, what costs $36,000 in a Senna? Nothing. An oil change costs
one seat maybe.
An oil change is $36,000 in a Senna.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sound like an elitist snob, but we're talking about a car that's almost $2 million. There's nothing you can get for that car that's $36,000 that'll change the level of performance and feel like popping in this other gearbox.
Shorter gears,
and then,
man.
oh, by the way, you've got a backup gearbox if you ever need it. Or you could sell it and recoup some of your...
That's bananas.
Turn it into a coffee table. Senna gearbox coffee table. So that's Hypercar.
Someone asked if you would ever drive your Countach on Laguna if there was a classic class.
No, I don't. I mean, I would do like a parade lap or something, but that car doesn't. The vibe I get with that car is never
Go
let
as
me
fast as
drive this
possible.
at the limit
Yeah.
because the brakes aren't really that great. The brakes are like highway brakes. You get one really good stop, and it's really a great 6/10 cruise through the canyons car. And it's not about like wringing out the motor or the gearbox. They're tough, but the brakes wouldn't really hold up to that type of thing. But yeah, really, really, really fun. I'm glad I got to go, and I mean they hired me to go as a announcer and an MC, so it was nice of them to think of me. And it turns out it was actually quite fun. A lot of talking, so much talking. My voice was fucked by the end of it.
Yeah. Tanner Faust was there too. I saw. Jeez, like every
Tanner was doing charity
driver I know.
drift laps with his Passat, so he was drifting
rad.
the full track.
that is awesome.
Yeah. He said he had to take it easy going up the hill because, in Formula D, like it's like 2 corners.
Yep.
And he said without like 30 seconds of cool down, it's too much for the car. So
Yeah.
he would drift turns 2, 3, 4, and then go easy on 5, 6 up the hill.
Yep.
And then do corkscrew
Oh my
into the
God.
downhill and then pit in.
That's rad.
Yeah, it was cool.
I gotta find video of the corkscrew drift.
Yeah, there's videos on Instagram
That's
and
cool.
shit. It's pretty badass. People were having a good. I think someone paid $20,000 to go out for that. There's people throwing around charity
Of course.
bucks.
I mean, it's charity. It's like, all right, I can write off $20,000 now.
yeah, totally.
For this amusement park ride.
Yeah, and I think it was a few. I think someone gave $5,000 to go out in the Valkyrie. I mean, there was people who gave real money to do that kind of
Nice.
thing. It was bitching. I bought a thing. I bought a Honda Monkey.
Yeah.
I've been wanting one for a very long time.
You have.
And my new house is only like a mile from the shop, and so this thing is pretty cool. My friend Gibran is moving to New Orleans and had too many motorcycles, and so I was able to get this thing at a very reasonable price. It's like 2 years old. It's got 1,000 miles on it. So I was like, absolutely.
It's
must.
like it's a Grom with vintage fairings, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing.
Mechanically, it's a Grom.
Yeah.
But you sit a little more upright. It has old school bars and kind of an old school vibe. But it's a Grom, and it's got a Yoshi pipe on it. It's
Yeah.
so loud. And I always in the future when we have our truck and trailer and our project car and we're going to racetracks, like I always want to bring
Pit
something
bike.
like this as a pit bike.
For sure.
Yeah, and I'll have it forever. After we're done with the show, I'm gonna go wash it in the wash bay. And
It's dusty, but
it's really dusty because it was sitting outside his house. But that's okay.
luckily
I
there's
clean.
2 panels to wash.
Yeah, it'll
Fender.
take me 20 minutes to
Yeah,
wash the whole thing.
that's cool.
But I'm very excited about this little guy. And I may try and find a cargo box to go on the back, which cargo box makes things very useful.
Yeah, then you can lock stuff in it. and do
Groceries,
errands,
just
yeah.
groceries and stuff. That's really where it's at. But very excited about my new Honda Monkey that I bought used. And Gibran also I made him a deal because he has another motorcycle. He's got a Triumph Tiger 900 that I'm going to store here for him gratis, but I get to ride it whenever I want.
Nice.
It's a really nice bike, like a brand new Triumph Tiger 900, which is their that's their enduro bike. It's fucking cool as hell. Yes, look at that. It's got a I think it's the triple. It's a 900cc engine.
Oh, it's like their adventure kind of
Yeah,
bike.
the adventure touring bike. Yeah, it's got cargo boxes on it. Fucking cool little bike.
Cool.
Yeah, so
Very cool.
Loaner motorcycle, indefinite,
Free bikes.
free bikes. Yeah, so that's what's going on in my life. Zach drove that. This fan sent down an E46 M3.
Yeah, man.
For Zach to drive.
Let me pull up a photo. So this guy named Mark, when I put out the call for fan cars, he was like, "Hey, I have a Dinan S3R, which is an E46 with basically all the things that Dinan offered for it in the early 2000s." And he said he would drive it down from the Bay Area and leave it with us for a week. I was like, "Yeah,
Okay.
I guess there is a Santa Claus."
Yeah.
So here's
Nice looking car.
Yeah, it's silver car. The interior is sick. It's got the fabric inserts on the seats and door cards with like the BMW colors. It's really
Is it a
cool.
competition?
It's not a competition, but I don't know if it's competition fabric or not. It just looks so good and it's comfortable and it holds you in the seat a little bit better.
I love a good cloth.
Yeah, it's great. It's cloth. So this has everything you could get, basically. Like there's it's like a $40,000 package back in the day.
S1 is what I have on my car. The S1 is intake, exhaust, ECU tune, and a front sway bar. The S2 then I think is throttle bodies, and then full suspension, the shocks.
Yeah. So the S2 suspension was shocks, springs, and sway bars, and then the S3 suspension adds camber plates and strut bars front and rear.
And then the supercharger.
So they had because he had the brochure, which was very cool. So they had their level 1, 2, 3 suspension.
Yeah.
And then they have their level 1, 2, 3 engine.
Oh, okay.
And then he also got the Dinan big brake kit, which is built by Brembo, and Dinan wheels. So the supercharger, it gives you, they put in bigger throttle bodies, they tune everything, adjust the timing, all that shit. And then of course it has a Vortex centrifugal supercharger on it with full exhaust and cold air intake, and air-to-air intercooler.
What's the advertised power?
Advertised power is 462.
It's a lot.
It's a jump of almost 50%.
Yeah, it's a lot of power.
Right? It's a jump of 130. And then the torque is 328. So that goes up by about 60. And that was pretty noticeable also.
Well, the centrifugal blowers don't add as much torque as the roots type blowers do.
Correct. Yeah.
Because they don't have it's not a big volume of air that they're moving.
Yeah, it's like a mechanical turbo.
Yeah.
The E92s have the roots type. So this is still centrifugal. It's still I fucked up in that I took it out at 11 a.m. to go film it, and it turned out to be 92 degrees up on the mountain. So air-to-air intercooler is just not that efficient. That's why we use liquid-filled radiators and things.
Did it not feel like the power numbers suggested?
It didn't. It didn't, and it's how it works. It's 94 degrees. What it felt like, it also comes with a 391 rear end.
Oh.
So what I noticed is that even at that heat, fourth gear in that car feels like third gear in my car on a cold day.
Oh.
So it's still I can still feel a significant jump in power and a lot of torque. I was driving in a higher gear than I would have normally, partly because of the gearing, but partly because of the power. But it definitely didn't kick me in the back the way I was hoping it would. It's here for 2 more days. I want to take it out at 9 p.m.
6 in the morning,
or 6 in the morning and see if it feels different. But of course, what stood out so well is the handling is so good. You put everything in there and
Is it square stance?
Square stance, 275 PS4s, 19-inch wheels. And that plus the brakes, God, stock brakes suck. I hate my stock brakes. And I have pads, fluid, and stainless lines. Yeah. And there's just this squish feeling throughout that with this big brake kit, there's a little squish at the top. It doesn't have that immediate bite new high-performance cars do, where as soon as you're into the pedal travel, you feel that resistance and that grab. But you're half an inch in, and then it starts, and it's firm and really progressive. And oh my God, it was so much better. There's less brake, there's less dive under braking, less squat under acceleration. The whole car feels really even. They turn all the knobs to 9 instead of power's at 11, but braking is at 7 or whatever. It's all put together really well.
Nice.
So yeah, it was cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's fun. So you got a video that's coming out
correct.
in whatever, couple of weeks, whenever we have the time. But that was nice of Mark.
Yeah,
Mark was his name?
Yeah, big shout out to Mark.
And thanks for having. Didn't he have us detail it?
Yeah, he paid WC. He was I want to detail so it looks good for the video,
nice.
and it's stored here for a week. And he's had it for.
Thank you for thinking of Westside Collector Car Storage for your.
Yeah.
If any other fans want to send Zach a car and store it and have us detail it, I'll take that. It
worked out better, really.
I will take that. Yeah.
He's had it for 15 years. What was cool, someone commented on my Instagram, hey man, I bought an E46 with a supercharger. The guy built a drag car and it just brakes every 20 miles. And I was well, this dude put 60,000 miles on it. Yeah. And someone responded well, that's the difference in tuning, Steve Dinan tuning versus drag. Someone might have turned your supercharger up to 120%.
Yeah, they put some fucking crazy small pulley on it. It probably runs like shit.
Yeah.
That's 60,000 miles on that kit is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's good. How shitty is the SMG though?
Oh God. Mark, if you're listening, I hope your SMG pump break. No,
he's had it for 15 years. It was probably the shit when it was new.
I bet it was. Yeah. And this is the awkward teenage years of paddle shifted transmissions for the masses. We wouldn't have DCTs.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have good paddle shifted transmissions for our cars if we didn't have shitty ones at some point.
Yeah.
But this is an 04. So when do they start developing this SMG? Probably the 90s. Like they start doing the R&D.
Yeah.
And it's just, it pulls away so much of the good that is a M3.
Yeah.
Like the weird, the downshifts, it doesn't rev match perfectly, so the car moves. It unsettles
jerks,
in entering a corner. And then when you accelerate, even when you turn the shift speed, which is adjustable, up to 5, like it still kind of kicks.
Yeah.
So it's like riding with someone who is still new to driving a manual transmission.
Yeah.
And it just ruins what is otherwise a really balanced, good car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
It's
maybe
so
when
dumb.
he breaks, he'll swap it out for a
He said he
manual.
would. So
Yeah.
I hope that
probably
happens
means it.
for him soon.
There was,
because he'll enjoy the experience.
I had a really fun night of, you know, I haven't been doing much drinking. I'm trying to you know, because I felt fat and gross and terrible, and so I've said I'm not like, it's not like a sobriety thing, but I made a commitment to only drink when the circumstances were really befitting drinking. Like no more just bottles of wine at dinner at night on the way home. Not on the way home. I'm sorry. At home. Not on the way home. Yeah. Bottle of wine on the way home.
I'll take a cab for the ride home, please.
No, I mean, we were doing bottles, you know, just at home every night for dinner. I'm not doing that anymore. But I had a night at the bar at the Hypercar Invitational with Adam Chamberlain, who is the CEO of Aston Martin North America, and the Valkyrie staff. The guy, this dude Barney, who is in charge of all things Valkyrie. They're like the guy who you call Mark, the guy who you call when you want to spec one. He's that guy. He's the Aston specialist, you know, VIP sales guy, the guy who's like in charge of maintaining the car. We killed some wine at the bar. Up there, and had some really funny, interesting conversations. And apparently there is and this is related to what we were just talking about, because, you know, like I had my Vanquish converted to stick. There is apparently a petition circling among 177 owners.
Oh.
You know, and they want all of their cars converted to stick too.
Yeah.
Which it would be much more difficult, because even though they do use the similar gearbox to the Vanquish, the interior, which is all carbon, and like it would just be way harder to get a shifter in there.
Yeah.
But there's like 20 guys with 177s who want to like all go in together on stick conversions. And so the Aston guys were like, you know, we're trying to figure out if this can work or not.
I wonder if they could do some kind of crazy linkage like Spiker does, where the hole is back here, so you don't see it, and then it kind of comes out of this, and there's just all these crazy tubes and rods.
I mean, I'm sure somebody could figure it out, but it seemed like a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that would be fun, though.
Yeah. But dude, I really, you know, I'm like, you know, their cars don't always impress me. Sometimes they disappoint me a little bit, but I am fundamentally Team Aston. I want them to succeed. Totally. Because everyone that I interact with who work there, they all mean so well. They all like want it to be so great. I've heard that everyone has told me the DBX 707 is completely batshit and really, 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 really fast, apparently. And it has the new gearbox. It doesn't have the ZF anymore. It now actually has Mercedes' gearbox, their wet clutch setup. So that was, because I even told the fucking CEO, I was like, love the Vantage. I was like, but Mercedes has the powertrain with the dual clutch, and yours guys. And he was like, we're working on that starting with DBX 707. So I guess future product may actually not just use the Mercedes engines, but also might use the Mercedes gearboxes, which would be great.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think everybody wants Aston to succeed because we've loved so many of their cars.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't undo that memory. Yeah. So.
And they're such lovely people. They're not like shitty people. They're like really good people. I want the cars to be great. The Valkyrie is I don't even know. I was like, I told them to their face. I was like, you're just selling this to people? The fuck is wrong with you?
But you know what? I guess that phrase is also true of SF90, Koenigsegg, like anything.
I say that shit to them too. Yeah.
It's like, it's just this is pushing it even further.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's like, yeah, they're all crazy fast. You have to have some skill or some restraint to own and drive them.
Yeah.
And that's just it, you know?
Yeah. What do the people on the Patreon have to say? I'm sure a lot.
A lot.
I'm sure they have a lot. Oh, there's a lot. Okay, here we go. Jake Kennedy wants to know, what is our take on salvage title cars? I want to go in on a salvage Ferrari to fix and drive daily. I mean, look, money in, money out. That's my thought. You save money on the way in, maybe, and hopefully, for whatever reason it's salvaged doesn't bite you in the ass.
Right.
You know, you buy a car that's got a bent fucking chassis, you save money on it, but like you got to unshitbox this thing now. There's reasons a car could be salvaged that might have nothing to do. If it's a theft, you know, it could be fixed professionally and still have a salvage title. But whatever money you save on the way in is money you will not get back on the way out. The next guy you're going to sell this thing to is going to see that title.
Right.
And, you know, same thing. You buy people. I see it as the same thing as a watch with non-original parts and no box and papers. You know, you want to buy a vintage Rolex, but it's got a replacement dial and a replacement bezel. There's no box and papers. There's no service history. You'll save money. But the next guy you go to sell it to, you know, he's going to pay you less as well.
It also shrinks the market of buyers for you. So you need to find someone who has your same ideals about buying a car and doesn't care that it's salvaged.
Right.
And shopping for salvaged Ferraris, how many people are willing to do that? So I think that's the real thing to think about.
And in the meantime, it may be difficult to get it insured.
Yeah.
You know, a salvage, it's not a salvage car, getting insurance on it is not as straightforward as a regular car. You might have people straight up deny your application because the thing is salvaged.
Yeah. You should look into a lot of those things before you jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Murray, holy fuck M.
Manchathasuk?
Manchathasuk? Yeah, Manchathasuk. I'm doing my first track day at Auto Club Speedway this weekend. Any tips? Work your way up. Do not, you know, listen to the instructors. Take all the instruction you can get. Be humble. Listen. Assume you don't know anything. And also a great tip I get from instructors a lot, especially at Auto Club. It's a fast enough track.
Yeah.
The first session, don't even think about shifting. You know, put the car in fourth gear and leave it there and just work on your line.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
You know, it'll give you less to think about on the first, you know, second session, third session, when you don't have to think about where the track goes anymore.
Yeah.
Now we can talk about gears and stuff like that. But your first session, just stick the car in fourth and think about the line. Yeah, and work your way up.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna be a hero on your first day. The fucking Sauber scouts will not be there.
That's a very good point.
You know, throw your ego aside and just try to have fun. And also seating position. Make sure you get your seating position right. A good seating position. You know, when you're sitting upright, you should be able to take both hands and drape them over the steering wheel and have your wrists hit the top of the steering wheel. If you're kind of in a lounged out position or your seat's too far back or too close, that math won't really work. So
right. It limits your range of motion, which limits your ability to control the vehicle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Atticus Soulier, make car ads great again on Instagram. Is that vintage car advertising or is that a MAGA thing I need to worry about?
No, it's vintage car advertising.
Vintage car ads? Okay, I'll check that out. Make car ads great again? Oh, cool!
Like
it's all old
collection.
car ads.
Yeah.
Oh, can we follow them, Zach? Let's make sure to follow that. That seems like a good one. We do follow.
I added them.
Great. That's a good tip. Thank you, sir. Make car ads great again. What do we have next? Steve Hollowell, would an expression of range efficiency be a more useful tool to categorize an EV, i.e. kilowatts per mile versus stated range? I think that it not only would it be, it is a more useful metric. It is. Once you know the cars are standard, you know, people also, once we have enough stations, once those stations are reliable, and once pretty much all EVs can cross 200 miles of range, then I think kilowatts per mile is is more, because it requires another level of math.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
you got to do kilowatts per mile. Okay, well now what is my kilowatt battery capacity? Because there are so many gas stations, and because filling up with gas only takes 5 minutes or less, miles per gallon matters more than the size of your tank. Without a real density of stations that can charge you, if you can really charge in 20 minutes and there's a station every 2 or 3 miles like there is with gas stations, then kilowatts per mile is a much better use of our descriptor of how efficient a car is.
I could see this coming into popularity if battery pack sizes become restricted, whether it's by market forces or by regulatory forces, because, you know, like the Hummer, here's a battery pack that could run 2 planets, but it goes 400 miles. Like, okay, well, if they can't do that anymore, then you have like, I could see it being an advertising arrow in the cap of manufacturers.
Yeah, for sure. Stig wants an opinion on his next car. Currently drives a M3 comp package, E92, looking to replace something with significant and instant torque down low. Prefer 4 doors, but open to coupes. European, under $100,000. I would say AMG cars. C63, baby.
Yeah.
C63 sedan is where I'm at. Or maybe, a GLC 63, if you want that crossover life. GLC 63 is pretty awesome, actually. I'm a fan of those.
How much was the RS3 that you drove?
70. Yeah, RS3 is
that's
great.
Such a good bargain. It's brand new.
But not a lot of torque down low. You got to rev that motor.
Really?
Yeah, you do.
Even with a mono turbo engine?
I mean, it's not like no torque.
I think
but
compared
like,
to his M3, it probably has a lot more.
Yeah.
So it just depends on how much torque you want down low. But yeah, max torque down low.
Yeah, I mean,
Mercedes 4 liter.
The RS3 at 70 grand is about the best sedan you can buy right now. If you've got a little more money and you can get into a C63, that's a real torque monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's very lively. Nate M. Let's see. Hang on a second. Oh, boy.
Basically, is there an
My wife
affordable
wants to
EV
get-
that won't depreciate, or are they all going to depreciate because they're appliances?
Well, in this market, things are depreciating less, certainly. My recommendation is to lease an EV. I mean, and that's because, especially if you're not leasing one from Tesla, and this isn't an anti-Tesla thing, but Tesla, you can't buy your lease out. With a Tesla, you can lease it or you can buy it, but if you lease it, there's no buyout option at the end. You have to turn it back in. And the reason being because Teslas hold their value and Tesla themselves want to capture that value. Like, you know, if you lease, like my Mach-E, I can lease it, and because I am leasing it, and because I'm going to be under on the miles, I might be able to buy it out and sell it later. But all the appliance cars, I mean, to be honest, I haven't studied the depreciation of those EVs. He's asking a question that I wish I had an answer for, but I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are online tools to look at what a 3-year-old 30,000-mile EV is and compare it, but I have not researched that kind of depreciation.
And I think those are also subject to fuel price forces.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's hard to say.
Yep. Prashan, they say everyone's favorite Lamborghini is the V12 Lamborghini from when they were 6. You're not wrong. Murcielago made me fall in love with cars as a whole. Are they disappointing to drive? No, they're nice, especially the stick shift ones. The stick shift ones drive pretty good. The paddle shifted ones, the gearbox is clunky, like all early paddle shifted cars. But they're rather nice. I think they're good cars. And they're pretty tough as well. I mean, there were back in my Gotham Dream Cars days, back in the day, there was we shared a shop with a Lambo tech, Stevie, and Stevie had a couple clients outside the rental company that would have 40, 50, 60,000 mile Mercies stick shift on the original clutch. I mean, they're pretty stout cars. They're nice. They're not disappointing. They're cool. I mean, I wouldn't take one to a track day, but they're fun. Yeah. Okay. Rich B, former motorcycle road racer, newer car enthusiast. I'm thinking about picking up a kart to learn more car control. Not a bad idea. I know how to drive a bike on track, but I don't quite get the car balance. Would a cart help, or should he take some driving schools living up near Monticello? A cart is a pretty good way to get your practice on, but the dynamics aren't exactly like a car, especially because a lot of the carts only have brakes in the rear, which creates a very snappy oversteer kind of situation if you get really into the brakes. I would say do some rally schools. I mean, rally schools, and Monticello has one at Monticello Motor Club.
They do. I don't know if it's publicly available, though.
Okay, well, I would look into that. But if not,
Tim O'Neill's nearby.
The best way to learn weight transfer in a car is loose surface rally schools, in my opinion. And those skills then will transfer to a car on the road or the track.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting at a great place because motorcycle racers and riders tend to have a really good understanding of rolling on throttle and braking. Like, the skills translate even though it's hands to feet.
Yeah.
Like, they do really well in lessons and usually advance really quickly. So I think you'd be wise to do a driving school of some kind in general because it will help you level up really quickly. You'll get those explanations. And then a cart is an awesome way to learn lines, braking techniques, other stuff. You just, like you said, you can't brake mid-corner. But that does teach you good habits because some cars you shouldn't be trail braking anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a cheap way to get
to go really fast.
To go fast and you can buy a good cart for like $2,000.
Yeah.
And the consumables are so cheap.
Yeah.
And the skills will translate to road cars.
Yeah.
So I would say get an education, like a short one. Rally school is a great idea, and then get a cart and just keep learning.
Yeah. Ryan Morris with IndyCar going with a bigger motor and hybrid, along with removing downforce to make the cars harder to drive. Do we see that concept trickling to road cars like narrow body roofs or touring GT3s? Less about pure lap time, more about character. I don't think that concept is going to trickle per se, but I think that the market for sports cars will demand that. I mean, sports cars are really, really fast. In many cases, faster than people can drive them. And we've got Porsche coming out with that Sport Classic, which is a turbo powertrain and a stick shift without a huge amount of downforce. The GT3 Touring is still impossible to get, long waiting lists. I think there is in general a focus. People do care. Certain companies are paying attention to driving dynamics rather than outright speed, for sure. I mean, I think the problem is a lot of the things that sell a car are stats.
Right.
In general.
Yeah.
I mean, even...
That's the big separator because what the motorsport affiliations really want is more attendance and more viewers and more audience. And a lot of the drivers have been calling for cars that move around more so the speeds go down, but they're also more engaging for them. But that would also make it more entertaining for us.
Yeah.
But OEMs aren't trying to make the cars more entertaining to the masses.
Right.
To customers maybe, but not to viewers on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a differentiator.
Yeah. Chappie, I mean, but Lambo and Audi are doing rear-wheel drive versions of the R8 and the Huracan. There are real drive there's enthusiast versions of a lot of cars that are not focused purely on numbers.
It's a good point. They can kind of make a car that levels up in terms of numbers compared to the predecessor, and then they can go. But there's also a slower version that's more fun if you need it.
Yeah.
So they have the Halo one, and then the offshoots.
Chappie, rewatching my excellent S8 review, I couldn't think about who the hell would want this in 3 years, seeming like it had a motor for everything that could break. Do you think resale on these high complex cars drops harder in the future due to increased complexity? Yes. That is a very straightforward and demonstrable and provable trend. I mean, yes. He's straight up. I mean, you go look at a 4-year-old AMG car or a 4-year-old BMW 7 Series. I mean, those cars are the fastest depreciating cars in the world because not only are they very, very expensive to maintain outside of a warranty, but also their target audience wants the newest and latest and greatest. I mean, that's not a hypothetical. That's just the truth.
Right. I think it's increasing complexity will likely lead to a decrease in durability over time.
Always does. David G, if Hypercar Invitational was a demo derby at Laguna, what super hyper mega car would you derby to its death? Ooh, something that it was very, very. I'd have the Glickenhaus boot.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I think I would go SF90 or similar because I want a motor in the front and the back. So if someone hits me on either
you could
side,
still drive on the hybrid.
Exactly.
Yes, that's a very good thought. Yeah, something with an electric motor powering the front and a gas motor powering the back.
Right.
That's a good idea. It's very good. Elon Musk is suspicious 43. Dream car has always been a Porsche 997. GT3 RS 3.8, driver grade but well-maintained one with some miles has come within my reach, but it's a big stretch for me and thus a little scary. Should I be worried about buying one when we're on the cusp of a recession? Financial question, and I'm not an expert at financial questions. You should not take my answers seriously at financial questions. The best part about a Porsche versus another kind of investment is that you get to drive it. Mm-hmm. And if you drive it and you love it, you can hang on to it for long enough and it might come back. I mean, the best part of investing in a car versus investing in a stock or a crypto or anything else is that A, it's insured. So if something terrible happens, you get your money back, right? Mm-hmm. And B, it'll probably never be worth zero. So if the value goes up and the value goes down a little bit, we're talking about a car with an accepted value. I mean, in terms of the enthusiast community,
right?
There's a defined number of them. They will never make any more. It is accepted that it's something great.
I would say that market is also not shrinking because more people that are enthusiasts about that car are getting older and making more money.
Right.
Someone who's 25 right now is probably stoked about that car, just like us, in our 30s and 40s.
Yeah. And it's the last stick shift RS, so there's that too. So while I don't give financial advice on this show, I can say that you won't lose all your money. You know what I mean? If you bought a stock in some new tech company and turns out the CEO was banging giraffes, or goes to prison, you're going to lose all your money. Mm-hmm. With a car, and you should not invest a significant chunk of your net worth in a car. That's bad practice in general. That is a real piece of advice I'll give you. If you have to fucking invest 90% of your net worth in a $150,000 or $200,000 car, you shouldn't do that. Just don't. And my father, who does give financial advice, would tell you the same thing. Don't take a finance out on it. You know what I mean? But it's a protected investment in the case that it's insured. And it will never be worth zero. And if you like it as a car and you take care of it and you like using it as a car, and there is a recession, the number only matters when you buy it and when you sell it. And what happens in the meantime is you enjoy it. So you could always hang on to it until, recessions don't last forever.
Right.
And if you really like the car, hang on to it, and when the time is right, and you can do whatever you think is financially well on the other side.
Yeah, as long as you can weather the recession and not go, I took all my savings and put it in this car, that's not good. But if you still have your safety net or whatever, then that's great advice.
Yeah, and I mean, if the car goes down by 10 or 15 grand in a year and you really do need the money, well, then, you've spent 10 or 15 grand or whatever to have a car for this amount of time. Mm-hmm. You don't lose all of it. Derek Yegan, thoughts on driving shoes like Pelote or Alpine Stars for casual canyon driving? Overkill or worth the investment? I am the wrong person to ask because I have fat bread loaf feet, and I base my driving style around my fat bread loaf feet. So like my quote heel and toe is not using my toe on the brake and my heel on the gas. like you're technically, there's no wrong way to heel and toe as long as the end result is the same.
I don't do that either, and I haven't talked to many people that use their actual heel and toe.
Right. So I use the left side of my foot on the brake and the right side of my foot on the gas. And my shoes are wide enough that I can have plenty of coverage for the brake and the gas. And my ankle is flexible enough that I can put full brake pressure, like with my foot kind of turned in like this, and still blip it. If I wear driving shoes, it makes me worse at driving
because it
narrows my foot. And so I'm not against and also I hate walking around in driving shoes because there's such a thin sole, it actually makes my knees hurt. So they don't do anything for me at all. And doesn't mean that Alpine Stars and Pelote don't make a nice product. They do. But they don't do anything for me driving. And if the pedal box is so narrow that I would need driving shoes anyway, I fucking take my shoes off and drive barefoot. And then I've got a whole lot of flexibility in my foot. I like driving barefoot. Some people think I'm insane, but I'm used to it. And so I drive barefoot all the time. It's no big deal. Do you ever wear driving shoes?
No. When I race a car, but I wear those Onitsuka Tigers.
Yeah.
That driving shoes for me are basically, they provide good pedal feel. I think that's what they do for most people. And like you said, they have a thinner sole, but there's so many different sneakers I've owned that have a thin enough sole I can feel the pedal and feel the brake and feel the feedback, but I also can, stretch my foot and hit the thing. Like, I don't think you need to buy dedicated driving shoes for driving in a canyon.
There's people that like them, and that's fine. You like your shoes, go ahead. But like, they're not really for me. Yeah. Robert Adams says, my review of the Fat Bob got me looking at bikes. That's a Harley Davidson. And finally pulled the trigger on starting to ride. More motorcycle reviews coming up. No, I guess I guess he missed this when we talked about this. Motorcycle reviews are literal cancer to our channel. Yeah. It's not just that they do very badly, because in our like 20 least viewed videos of the year, over half of them were motorcycles. Every motorcycle video we've done is at the very bottom of our view counts. It's just more of a niche market, and people who are, and by people, I don't mean you, Robert Adams. I mean, we're talking about something where if 10,000 people see something, that's a massive fail.
Right.
And when a video does bad, it's not just that one video that does bad. It literally drags the rest of your channel down. And so if we have narrowed our focus to sports and enthusiast cars, you're also not really going to see SUVs and crossovers unless they're heavily enthusiast focused. You should follow me on Instagram, because I'm going to ride some bikes and do some Instagram content. But unfortunately, it's terrible for our channel on a purely scientific and analytical level, and so we will not be doing video. And also, there are a lot more work. I mean, it's a significantly more higher amount of work to do a motorcycle review than to do a car review for not only less reward, but a cancer. It makes our other videos perform worse.
Right.
So I'm glad you like my motorcycle reviews. I've had some fun doing them, but Instagram only and podcast. We'll talk about it on the podcast. But I sent my CX500, which has been living in the lobby for 2 years. I sent it to Iconic, which is the place in Santa Monica that restores vintage motorcycles and late model motorcycles, and they're doing like a full major service, new tires, new brake pads and fluid. It actually has this very early type of adaptive suspension that has an anti-dive technology. So when you brake, it sort of holds the front end up a little bit in an active way.
I just looked up the power. The power number for that bike is 82.
Yeah, 82
Top
horsepower.
Speed of 120.
But 82 horsepower from a 500. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, even a brand new 500cc bike 30 years later won't make 82 horsepower.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, even like
the SV, we both had one. Those were like 65 horsepower, I think.
Yeah,
and it's got it's a bigger engine.
Yeah, I mean, I rode the BMW F800 or F850 GS, and I don't think that makes 80 horsepower. That one might, but like it's taken a while to catch up. This is the first turbocharged production motorcycle and the first ever motorcycle with an ECU.
Wow.
Electronically controlled ignition. They are, according to the I've read this before, but they are apparently quite finicky. There's not a lot of people that know how to work on them. Iconic is one. And there's certain parts where, like if that ECU dies, it's a sculpture.
Wow.
The bike's a sculpture. But I got it cheap. And
well, it started as a sculpture, so
it
even
started
if it
as a
turns back
sculpture.
into one,
Yeah, if it went
it's
back
all right,
into
all right,
one,
not that bad.
I'm not out that much.
Right.
Yeah. But I just want to, I'm tired of looking at it and not ever riding it, and I want to try it. And
Yeah, for sure.
And it's, it looks like the estimate is around $1,500 to $2,000 to get it where it's safe to ride. So considering what I paid for it, which is not much, and what they go for, like this one's not necessarily collector grade, but they're so rare, they're all collectible.
Nice.
I could probably, if I marketed it right, sell it for $8,000 or $9,000, which I don't want to do. I like it; it's cool, but we'll see. I'm not going down a motorcycle rabbit hole, but I do want to take it for a little ride and see what it's like to,
It's cool looking.
to ride. Yeah, it runs. It ran when parked. But the tires were 17 years old, so I didn't even want to try riding it. I was like, this is sketchy.
Yeah. You can't have one tire blow out like you can in a car.
The
and
guy
then
rode
come
it
to a
here.
Stop.
The guy I bought it from, I said, he goes, do you want to come take it for a test drive? I said, you ride it to me, and if it makes it here under its own power, I'll give you the money. That was it. And he rode it here. And then I saw the tire. I was like, oh my God, you rode this from Long Beach on a 17-year-old tire, you sketchy fuck.
Yeah, slippery and dry. Wow.
Yeah, sketchy. All right, well, that's our show. Is our next show from Pikes Peak? No, we're going to show next week, don't we?
I think we do.
I think we have, what's happened here? Let me escape my, I had to have my security cameras up because of, I had to watch the shop while we were doing this show. Thank you all for your patience among that time. Do we have? Maybe another show. Juneteenth coming up. Yeah, we'll do a show next week. We'll do a show next week before we go.
Yeah, because we leave Wednesday.
Yeah,
so we have some.
And then we're up at Pikes Peak. We're going to be recording. It seems like people were kind of into the format from Hypercar with the 3 different drivers, one at a time. And I feel like I don't really know how the Pikes Peak shows are going to work. I feel like it may be segments that we stick together.
Yeah, I know like the plan is to go to these different pit areas. What I'm not sure of is if we're going to have to go find drivers. So my thought now is it might be easier if I just rig up a mobile situation and we can just walk to, Reese Mill and Joey's pit and hand Reese a microphone for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then, walk to the next thing. It would be great if we can set up a table and just tell the pits like, hey, just come by for 10 minutes. Like everything's set up, just sit down. Because like you said, it was great at the Hypercar thing. They could sit down, cameras are going, blah, blah, blah.
It seems like we might be able to do that at the start line on race day, but during practices, I think we're going to have to go to them.
Yeah, because race day, they have a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that the engineers may be working on stuff, but I remember being there and a lot of people are they're waiting for their slot and the engineers are just making sure the car's ready, but the drivers are just kind of watching other people run. So we'll definitely be able to get some good stuff on race day and hopefully practice days as well.
Yeah. We'll have an F-150 Lightning, which is interesting.
Yeah.
We'll have things to do with that.
I'm excited to see how much mileage we can gain going back down the mountain.
Yeah. That'll be a fun side video. All right. Well, that's our show. Thank you to everybody for listening, and we'll see you guys